Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of the world's biggest stars and some of my favourite people. And one of my favourite bands ever is UB40. They're back on tour this autumn. Robin, Earl, Norman, Jimmy and Brian. They're the 5 original members of UB40. I'm delighted to say that Robin Campbell joins us on the phone now. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
It must be amazing to be you, because when we consider your back catalogue, there are some incredible songs that still sound as good today as they did 30 years ago when they were first released. It's remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't quite explain why or anything. It's just, I guess we're lucky that we make a sound that's fairly unique and that's quite popular.
Was there always an alchemy between the voices and the band and the way that you grew up? I mean, to be so close and to be family, I guess, is one of the greatest privileges, but it also can get overwhelming, can't it?
Well, I guess if you live in each other's pockets for, a lifetime, then I guess it can, with any group of people, it becomes like family, I consider the whole of the band as a band of brothers, that we've grown up since we were kids together, and we've gone through everything together. And I think I'll go through phases of loving and hating in equal measure.
I'm sure you do. I've seen you probably live 10 or 15 times over the years, and I don't know what it is about your music, the way you play it or what you do, but it's an instant stand up, get on your feet and join in. It's high energy, isn't it? The audience really love it.
Yeah, we have a party. We always have done, and if anything, I think we're probably better at it now than we were, years ago. I think our audience knows what to expect when they come, and they definitely come expecting a party, and it's usually what we have.
How important is the sound system? I mean, when I've seen you live before, it is quite loud, and the bass line of what you do is so paramount. You can't just work to any karaoke machine, can you?
No, it's reggae, and the bass is the most prominent instrument. It's all about the bass line. It's all about the B line, and if the bass and drums aren't moving your diaphragm, then it's not working properly. So yeah, that's like the main requisite before you start. Is to get the bass and drums going properly, and the rest is just the icing on top.
I think people find it hard to believe there you were, just a load of brothers, a band of brothers in Birmingham doing what you do as kids, and then becoming an international success. Does that ever become normal? I was driving through Florida in January and there you were. Then I was in Vegas in May and there you were on the radio. I come back to Nottingham where I live and you're played there. The international side of it has to still be mind-blowing because so few experience that, let alone for the amount of time that you have.
Yeah, it's still. I mean, there aren't many places we haven't been several times, so you kind of get used to it, But it's always. I mean, the whole of our careers has been a sort of pinch yourself experience, because obviously when we started, we had no expectations of well, I suppose we had dreams, we thought we'd be successful, but not to the degree that we have been. It's people can only dream of that kind of success, and it's a wonderful thing.
Does it become normal walking out in front of 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 people on an average night? Does that ever become okay and regular?
Yeah, well, it has for me. I don't get nervous anymore. I mean, I haven't for a long time. To me, that's home. It's what you do. It's I guess it's like any other profession. If you practice it for long enough, then it becomes normal to you. It becomes second nature. I don't think you can ever get used to the buzz. There's a sort of natural adrenaline rush. That you get when you're playing to people, but I don't think the numbers matter really. It's just about an emotional communication between you and a crowd, whatever the size of the crowd really, whether it's 5,000 or 50,000. I mean, we've played to billions, but in the Bollywood Awards, we played live in India, and the audience was several billion people. Yeah. And I mean, that gets a bit mind-boggling, but really you can only communicate with the people that you can see, and that's, I don't suppose you ever get used to the emotional side of it, but I think you get used to handling it. I think you get used to actually walking out on stage in front of thousands of people, and that doesn't faze me anymore. But if I stop and think about it, then I can get quite emotional.
Yeah, incredible. And then we talk about being very attractive and having fans and being a sex symbol. I'm a deeply unattractive man, Robin, and I've never had this. What does that feel like when you feel the roar of that scream and they're waiting for you at stage door? That isn't normal. You know that, don't you?
Yeah, it's not normal. It's a strange situation to be in, because of course it isn't normal. But it's also something that you kind of just get used to, and it just becomes part of the job, and you kind of treat it as a joke, really. Just as long as you're nice to people, I think that's all that counts. It's you can't take it too seriously.
Were there ever moments where you took the arsehole pill and became the rock star and the pop star and lost yourself for a moment? I guess being around brothers is better because they'll pull you back down to earth, and there can't be too many stars when you're around your mother and things like that. But were there periods in history when you got carried away?
Well, I don't know about personally, but certainly as a band, I think we got carried away a bit in the sort of late 80s. I think every band that has an incredible amount of success gets surrounded by an atmosphere of, sycophants, and you just, if you start believing your own press, then you're in trouble. And I think occasionally everybody falls victim to that kind of ego trip, But I think, like you were saying, if you're with a band of mates that you've grown up with, that you've been together since you were kids, you tend to get pulled back down. Anyone gets carried away, and the rest of us will quickly bring them back to earth.
Is the greatest pop song ever Kingston Town?
I don't know. It's a bit hard to vote on your own songs. But
God, I love that song. I'd never get bored playing it on the radio.
It was voted Britain's favourite holiday tune, apparently. I saw in some poll a couple of years back, so it's obviously very popular. Even though it wasn't that big a hit, it just seems to be one of those songs that we have to play every time we do a show, and it just seems to be one of those eternal favourites. Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's a sort of back of the shower song. It's a song that you can sing whether you can sing or you can't sing, and that's why the whole family join in. It's the perfect pop song in a way. It's got the rhythm, the melody, the song, the tune, the words, the everything. It's perfect.
Yeah, if only we'd written it. It was it's a wonderful song, and it's a song of my youth. It was a song we always wanted to cover, because the original is obviously a Jamaican record.
Of course. Are you glad you had your beginnings when you did? Because I look at how they're struggling now. They seem to become very famous very quickly and are got rid of within a second, and we never remember them. To have your longevity only seems possible if you got started when you did. It seemed like you were in the perfect time to be pop stars.
That's kind of disappearing now, and the whole industry is changing. Record companies are disappearing fast, shrinking. A few majors are surviving and running the whole show. It's just, records don't sell in the numbers that they did then. It's not possible. I don't think that you could ever shift the numbers, the figures that we were shifting in those days. That whole industry has just collapsed, hasn't it?
Yeah, sad. It's really sad because there's no investment in the future. It seems like they want you for now, and one hit's enough. Whereas I think your guys, they gave you a chance, didn't they? If you had a flop, you could come back and have a hit again.
Oh, absolutely. We were allowed to release whatever we wanted. We've never had a problem with a record label saying to us, we don't want to release that, or that's not a single. We just had complete artistic control, and whatever we gave to Virgin EMI, who were the label we were with for most of our career, whatever we gave them, they just they just put it out.
You can find out more about the upcoming tour. UB40.global is the website, starting in Leeds on September 30th via Newcastle, Leicester, Edinburgh, Carlisle, Oxford, Leamington, Spa. You can go to Liverpool, Norwich, Northampton, Manchester. I'll see you in Nottingham at Rock City, Guildford, and the tour continues through the rest of the year and then around the world too. I guess the one thing we have to talk about, Robin, is the issue with Ali, your brother, and his split from the group. There are two UB40s on the road, but you make it clear on your website that there's only one official UB40, and that's you. Is that the case?
We are the original UB40, albeit minus a couple of members, but we are still the original UB40. We've never stopped playing and recording as UB40, so for ex-members of the band to put a band together and then call themselves UB40 is obviously it's misleading for the fans, and it's not acceptable to us because we're still here and we're still working. So it makes me very sad, but it's something. It's our living, it's our livelihood, and it's our name. And unfortunately, we're having to take him to court. They're spending a lot of money keeping it out of court, and we're spending a lot of money chasing them, trying to get them into court, because obviously once it gets into court, they will have to stop. They can't carry on. They haven't got a leg to stand on, and it's still our band. We've never stopped, so they really don't have an argument. But once it gets to court, then they'll be stopped. But it's getting them to court. It's a very long-winded process. Yeah. They just keep moving the goalposts,
Is there any hope this could be sorted out between you? Because I think I just want you all to be back together as UB40 and happy. Is there any hope of that, or is it just gone too far?
I think it has gone too far now. I think it was when Ali left to go solo, we were shocked and bereft, but we wished him all the best, and we hoped that he'd have some success, on his own. When that kind of backfired on him, and he then decided that he was going to use our name, everything just became bitter, and it's most unfortunate. He doesn't talk to us at all. He hasn't spoken to me or Duncan, my other younger brother who replaced him. He hasn't spoken to us since he left 8 years ago. So it's not pleasant, and I don't think there's ever a chance of us being back together again as a band.
Does it make you sad that not only have you lost a band member, the voice of your group in a way, but also a brother? I mean, it's disastrous on both levels, on a human, personal level and a business level too.
Yeah, it makes me sad, but I'm kind of over it now. It's gone on for a long time, and he's the vitriol that he's heaped upon me and other members of the band since he left has just been shocking, really. So I'm kind of over it now,
Do you think there's anything he could do to apologise, or he won't? There is no way back for him to make this right with you as a group?
Well, there's certainly no way back for him within the band. There's too much hurt gone on, and not from me, but every other member, they all considered themselves, inseparable friends. Brian Travers, our sax player, has been, best friends, inseparable with Ali since they were 11 years old. So, there's too much wounding gone on over the years. And since he left, the things he said about his brothers is it's an irreparable situation, I think.
Where does this leave the family? Do you still have parents around, or are they seeing all of this?
Well, my dad's passed away, and Mum's still around, but she's getting on. But she refuses to take sides. She's got 4 sons, and she loves them all equally, which is the way it should be. But I still see all of my family. The only one I don't see is one of my younger brothers, and I'm still tight with my other 2 brothers and the rest of our family. And in fact, I see Ali's kids from his first marriage who all still live here in Birmingham, and we're a tight family unit. We see each other regularly, and his kids from his first marriage are still very friendly with my kids. They've stayed at my house. It's like a normal family. The only difference is there's one of us that isn't there anymore.
Yeah, it makes me sad.
Doesn't appear to want to be either, so that's fine.
Did you ever get to the bottom of why he made the decision to walk away like he did? Did he ever actually privately tell you, this is why I've done what I've done?
He didn't privately tell me. He told every member of the band in a band meeting that he'd been offered a tour to go solo, and he was taking it.
Right.
Simple as that. He was going solo. He then, after he left, he sort of publicly changed his story and said it was about management and all sorts of other issues. But what he told us was that he had a solo tour booked in the summer, and he wanted to do it. And we said, "Don't be ridiculous. We've got our own tour booked. You can't do that." And he said, "Okay, I'm leaving." And it was that simple. He walked out at that point. We actually made him stay because we were committed to a tour of Australia. So he stayed for a tour of Australia while not talking to any of us. It was very uncomfortable. He finished that tour and walked off stage for the last time, and we've never seen him since.
It's so sad on a human level as much as a business level, and of course a musical level too. I guess he felt he was the band because he was the voice of it, and that was naive, because of course music transcends that, doesn't it? It's the music. Absolutely. As much as nobody's bigger than any band.
Absolutely, and that's an argument I had with him over many years, that a band is the sum of its parts, and the success that we'd had was together. And I knew that he had ambitions, for a solo career, and he really had started to believe that stuff. Earlier, for the first 20 odd years of our career, he didn't believe any of that stuff. He totally believed that the success we had was because we were together, and the contributions that we all made were equally important for the end result of the band. But he started to change his mind in the last few years, and he was obviously unhappy for the last few years with the band. And that's why I say when he left, I was upset about it, but I think I knew he was going to go, even if the rest of the band didn't. I'd been saying that I felt that he would leave at some point, but when he did, it was still a shock, and still very upsetting. But as I say, we really thought he was going to go off and have a successful solo career, but it didn't quite work that way, which is why he's now trying to be UB40.
Is your only legal ambition just to stop him using those 4 letters?
Absolutely. That he can do whatever else he likes. He can, obviously, he's entitled to use UB40 material. He has as much right to that as we do, but he doesn't have a right to the name. It's that simple, because the band that he left still exists, and there are so many legal precedents for that. It's you can write a long list of bands that have lost their former singers and carried on as the band. It's fairly obvious. There are many precedents, and as I say, when it does eventually get to court, there isn't an argument. It will happen, and we will stop him using the name. And that is the only ambition I have, is to stop him using the name.
And what a terrible waste of energy and money, making lawyers rich.
Absolutely, frightening amounts of money. Yeah, but
Are we into the millions yet, or is it still?
He's spending equally frightening amounts of money keeping it out of court, so that he can continue to earn a living, I suppose.
Having had run-ins with lawyers myself, this can run into hundreds of thousands of pounds, can't it?
Oh, and has done already, and looks like being even more.
What a shame.
It goes on.
Yeah, what a shame. Well, the good news is you're back on tour, and it's going to be a huge tour too, starting at the end of this month and running forever, really. There is no sign of anybody getting bored of your music. UB40 is timeless, and I wish you all the best. Robin, Earl, Norman, Jimmy and Brian are back on stage with the UB40 tour through the autumn and 2017 as well. We wish you all the very best. You're such talented guys, and we love you very much. I hope all the legal stuff resolves. It bothers me that you're wasting time and energy with lawyers getting getting rich when, in fact, all you're about is playing great tunes. And I hope it all sorts out very soon.
Oh, thanks very much. Feelings exactly the same.
I know. Really great to talk to you. Robin Campbell, the start of UB40. Lovely to talk to you.
Cheers, Alex.